Now I now request Dr. Maxine Coates Brown to present on the topic examining self-efficacy leadership and competency-based training among middle managers, the perspective of administrators, middle managers, and classroom teachers in Jamaican public schools. Over to you, Ms. Maxine.
Good day, everyone. My name is Maxine Coates Brown, and I am principal of Barracks Road Primary School in Montego Bay, Jamaica. I am a PhD candidate with Texila American University, and I will be presenting on perspective of administrators, middle managers, and classroom teachers of competency-based leadership initiatives on self-efficacy. And I will be giving you a brief introduction as to why this study is necessary or has become necessary. This study is to determine whether or not middle managers' self-efficacy levels impact their leadership effectiveness, and to also determine to what extent competency-based training needs exist among middle managers. Additionally, the study seeks to ascertain whether a compulsory competency-based approach to middle managers training can be taken to resolve training and leadership needs. You might ask, who is a middle manager? And a middle manager is anyone who is a senior teacher who holds strategic leadership positions such as grade coordinators, head of departments, and team leaders in Jamaican public schools, especially at the primary and secondary levels, and are remunerated as such by the government. Self-efficacy is concentrated around the extent to which an individual believes a task can be accomplished, and as such, it plays a crucial role in determining how challenges are approached. Self-efficacy is used to predict behavioral outcomes, especially in the areas of psychology and education, and is considered to be a good measurement as purported by Bandura, as well as an effective way to predict behavioral outcomes when compared to other motivational constructs. And I'll give you a summary. It is important to explore the concept of middle managers' self-efficacy, their leadership, and competency-based training in public schools in Jamaica, because self-efficacy is warranted, leadership is a big issue, and training is needed and has been demanded on many fronts on many occasions. Studies have shown that the self-efficacy level of leaders is critical to effective leadership, and that research on the concept is mostly done at the top-tier leadership and class teacher levels. So during my research, the research showed that efficacy studies are really done at the principal level or at the classroom teacher level. So efficacy studies are not seen a lot as it relates to middle managers. So the study in that area is sparse and thus need further exploration. Effective leadership at all levels of educational organizations is paramount to guarantee greater success in schools. Thus, leadership, self-efficacy, and competency-based training are worthy of exploration. Baker 2021 stated that self-efficacy has a causal variable in performance and achievement. Smith 2015 purported that middle managers must possess high levels of self-efficacy to work more effectively and maximize their output. And Trent 2003 speaks to the importance of employing strategies to enhance the self-efficacy of middle managers, as this is beneficial to their performance and has an important auxiliary benefit of improving the organization. And we know how important leadership is to education as an organization. And so the study focused on the following theories: self-efficacy based on the cognitive social theory, leadership theory, organizational theory. Self-efficacy as a theory is focused on the function of self-belief, emotional reactions, and thought patterns of an individual's perception of their ability to achieve a goal. Organizational theory is concerned with the study of how companies work, how they are structured, and how they change to achieve their goals. High-performing organizations require leadership that fosters the commitment of employees to deliver high and ever-changing level of value and performance. Leadership theory, and there are many theories of leadership that have been developed and proposed over the years. We have the trait theory. They believe leaders are born. Behavioral theory began with its stance that leaders were largely made rather than being born. Behavioral theory emphasizes that to ensure effective leadership, behaviors can be learned. It was later recognized that the environment plays a significant role in leadership development, and that is the position that this research seeks to take, that leadership plays a very important role as it relates to the skill being harnessed and being developed, and the very importance of the environment in that regard. The problem, what variation exists in the perception of middle managers' self-efficacy and leadership among different demographic groups, and the perspectives of administrators, middle managers, and classroom teachers are taken into account. What is the necessity and potential impact of competency-based training initiatives in enhancing leadership skills among middle managers in the Jamaican educational context? And again, we look at the perspectives of these three crucial stakeholders. White 1983 asserts that leadership in education in Jamaica has been an issue, and many recommendations have been made. However, the seldomness of implementation limited the desired growth to be achieved. We again see Hutton 2022 stating that school leadership is deemed to be weak in schools in Jamaica. He further alluded that this problem could be lessened if the best persons were selected to become leaders and the required training provided. The Task Force on Education Report 2004 has made its share recommendation, as well as stipulated that all school administrators are to receive ongoing training in school management and leadership in a variety of accredited institutions. But we are still at the point where the recommendations are not only to be said solely of school leaders in terms of administrators, but should be in general of all school leaders, inclusive of middle managers. Today, leaders have many different roles and are now required to have an understanding of the broader context in which schools operate. So we see middle managers operating in many roles, assisting in leading schools when administrators are absent. We see more vocal type of situations coming into the school environment, and we saw a lot of that during COVID. And so leadership requires a collaborative approach. And so it should not just require for administrators alone to be au fait with leadership technicalities, but all leaders on the front must be ready so that they will be able to play their fair and shared role. Our 2007 stated that leadership education has become the educational reform strategy of the 21st century. The literature analysis of the study was centered around a broad range of concepts, and the concepts include middle managers, leadership, competency-based training, and the perspectives of different demographic groups and the Jamaican public school context. An online questionnaire was used to garner the participants' perspective. The instrument consists of questions on leadership, self-efficacy, and competency-based training. The 2013 Leader Efficacy Questionnaire, LEQ, by Shane T. Hanna and Bruce J. Avio from Man Garden was used to garner the data. The 2013 Leader Efficacy Questionnaire has been validated across 7 diverse study samples and has been shown to predict important outcomes such as ratings of leader performance, enhanced motivation to lead others, and highly effective leadership styles such as transformational leadership style. The implementation of compulsory competency-based training opportunities for middle managers will lead to higher ratings of their leadership skill sets and efficacy levels. Transformation requires knowledge, the necessary skill sets, competencies, and mindset renewal. So what we're really saying here is that leadership doesn't just require knowledge, it requires a multifaceted approach. And there are many times when persons might have degrees in education, but they lack the necessary skill sets and competencies, as well as mindset renewals, self-efficacy to ensure they perform optimally. Self-efficacy has emerged as a priority for leadership development as it consists of core attributes and developmental attributes. It is reasonable to expect leaders to serve better in their capacities when compared to others without high self-efficacy. So we're here saying that if leaders are chosen based on high self-efficacy, then they'll do better. Or if they are provided with the necessary skill sets and training competencies that will enable them to improve their competency levels, then we can also Jamaican public schools using a structured and quantitative research approach through specifically employing a survey method. The collected data was analyzed using quantitative statistic tools. Graphs and tables were also used to analyze the data. The research highlights the value placed on the concepts by the different demographic groups. The data revealed that principals and middle managers' response rates were higher than classroom teachers. Principals had the highest response rate in the strongly agree and agreed categories, followed by middle managers and then classroom teachers in supporting the need for, and these were the three areas that we looked at: structured competency-based training programs, whether or not they were needed, middle managers being chosen for leadership based on their self-efficacy levels. Is this the way that we should go in terms of choosing middle managers for service within the education sector? And we also looked at self-efficacy is likely to increase from the provision of leadership competency-based training programs. The results, when compared to the research objectives and hypothesis, show that there is a need for compulsory competency-based training initiatives for middle managers in Jamaican schools, and that competency-based training initiatives can enhance middle managers' leadership skills and self-efficacy levels in Jamaica's educational setting. The results obtained from the research are consistent with other research done within education. Other researchers have shared similar thoughts about enhancing leadership and self-efficacy through competency-based training initiatives. So when we looked at structured competency-based leadership programs are needed in education to ensure teachers are adequately prepared to operate in leadership, we saw where 90% of principals gave their perspectives as strongly agree and agree, with 63.3% and 26.7% respectively. We saw where 85.8% of middle managers gave their perspective as strongly agree and agree, wherein we had 54.5 and 31.3 respectively. And on the lower end of all the persons who share their perspective, we saw classroom teachers with a percentage rating of 63.7%, with their perspective rating as strongly agree and agree. And we saw here where the split showed 27.3% and 36.4% respectively. And again, they showed how the disparity of the participants would have given their responses. And this showed that class teachers were at the bottom of the tier. It had a mean score of 79.83%, which was the lowest among the three questions. It rated less favorably when compared to the other questions, and it had the highest standard deviation of 11.3%. But nonetheless, it answered the question with a percentage rating of 79.83, that in fact, structured competency-based leadership programs are needed in education to ensure teachers are adequately prepared to operate in leadership. When we look at the question, middle manager's self-efficacy is likely to increase from the provision of a compulsory competency-based leadership program by the Ministry of Education or its affiliated agency, we saw where 90.3% of principals gave their perspective as strongly agree and agree, with 54.8% and 35.5% respectively. We now saw where 86.4% of middle managers, that's 86.4% of middle managers gave their perspectives as strongly agree and agree, with 45.5% and 40.9% respectively. 72.8% of classroom teachers gave their perspective as strongly agree and agree, 27.3% and 45.5% respectively. Again, we saw where the classroom teachers were at the bottom of the tier in terms of their responses. And again, we saw the principals at the top of the tier with their said responses. This question had the highest mean score of 83.17%, indicating that respondents rated most positively on average, and it had a moderate standard deviation of 7.5%. The other question we looked at is middle managers should be chosen for leadership positions based on their levels of self-efficacy. 83.3% of principals gave their perspectives as strongly agree and agree, with 50% and 33.3% respectively. 80.9% of middle managers, that's 80.9% of middle managers, gave their perspectives as strongly agree and agree, with 33.3% and 47.6% respectively. And again, we saw the classroom teachers at the bottom tier with their response rate being 72.7%. Of their responses being strongly agree and agree, wherein it was 22.7% and 50% respectively. As it had a mean score of 79.3%, it falls in the middle in terms of all three questions that were asked. Its lowest standard deviation of 4.55, which indicates that the responses are relatively consistent among the participants. From all three questions that were asked, it thus indicated that the participants believed that the competency could have been increased by the training being given and by the best persons being selected for the positions. The significance of the research is that it has implications for practice, research, leadership, educational policies, and implementation. It is hoped that this research will spark further interest or much interest and promote further exploration of this very important area. A list of the references that were used. Conclusion. Diversity in the responses were seen in the data set more so at the classroom teacher levels. However, high levels of agreement existed among principals and mid-managers, indicating strong support for structured competency-based leadership programs. The research shows that the three key stakeholders in education who participated in the study feel strongly that increased self-efficacy can be brought about by the provision of competency-based training, which can also improve leadership skill sets. Further research is needed to continue exploring the concept of self-efficacy, leadership, and competency-based training as it relates to middle managers, to develop an appropriate framework and support systems to bring about the desired change. As further research is done, the identified issues through collaborative efforts are hoped to be addressed. This will mean much for education leadership in the 21st century and beyond. As was said earlier, leadership development is a new thrust for development in the 21st century. And on this note, I want to say, let us keep moving forward because too much is at stake. And when we talk about too much, we talk about the future of the nation and the future of the world, which is our children. I want to thank you very much for listening to me today.
Thank you, Ms. Maxine, for the wonderful presentation.